I'm Cristina Howorun in an undisclosed and secure location somewhere in Calgary. Now, this is what about $700,000 worth of guns and gun parts looks like. These are predominantly rifles, predominantly used in sport, and they were supposed to be on the market about 3 years ago. They're going to be sold here in Canada and abroad. But at about the same time, the federal government made a snap decision, which meant all of these guns weren't going to make their way onto market, and instead they were going to sit here and gather dust. Back in May 2020, the federal government issued an order in council that banned about 1,500 different types of firearms. There was no public notice, no consultation, no parliamentary debate.
We were building guns before the OIC, and then the OIC hit. There was no notice, so we already had hundreds and hundreds of different guns in production.
J.R. Cox owns 2 shooting ranges and Sterling Arms, a gun manufacturing company. The order in council hit him hard. Now, several groups challenged the regulation in federal court, but their appeals were dismissed last fall. Why should people care about this, particularly if you're not a gun owner?
Well, I think the important thing about the order in council challenges is it goes down to the fundamental of fairness. The judge said the government doesn't have to justify taking things away from people if they deem so.
So I think as far as property rights go in Canada, it's terrible news, and that's why we have no alternative but to appeal it. We'll take it all the way, and we'll go to the Supreme Court from there.
Tracy Wilson is with the Canadian Coalition for Firearms Rights, an appellant in the case against the government. They've launched another appeal, and they've got some big allies in this case, the Alberta government.
My priority is to protect and ensure that law-abiding Alberta gun owners are well represented, that their views are represented to our federal counterparts, making sure that we take action where appropriate.
And that is part of the drive behind the Alberta Firearms Act, a law that limits who can confiscate firearms in the province. Like the 1,500 now banned guns, the feds say it'll confiscate and buy back from owners by 2025. What do you do when the RCMP or any sort of federal agent comes in and says, no, this is our mandate?
Right. Well, I mean, you said it best, right? The AR permits us to set minimum Alberta standards for a licensing of these agents, and we're going to assert our provincial right to do so.
The question is, who's going to track down these now banned guns? Most of these firearms weren't even considered dangerous enough to require registration.
It's logistically impossible. We're talking about 250,000 guns, owners all across the country, a country vast the size of Canada, which is impossible.
The parliamentary budget officer predicts the buyback will cost around $750 million. The Fraser Institute estimates the true cost to be closer to $6 billion. But it's impossible to know since nobody knows how many of these guns are actually out there.
The problem really stems from those who are importing guns from other provinces and south of the border, and we're doing everything we can to combat that.
Last year, the Alberta government announced the creation of a sheriff's-led team to help combat fentanyl and gun smuggling at the border, working alongside RCMP and CBSA officers. But those teams have not yet officially launched. The federal government's latest extension on the amnesty for these firearms ends in October 2025. Cristina Howorun, CityNews.